All right. Welcome. Hola, mi gente. We're just going to get started. We're going to give a few people, just going to give some time to let people in. We're going to be starting in a few minutes. Hi, everyone, trickling in. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. Let's see.
Hi, how exciting. Thank you for coming.
Oh my goodness. Amanda, you look amazing. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
You look like a full-blown mermaid.
Thank you.
I see a few familiar faces. Oh, Isabel. Okay, hi, Isabel. Let's just wait. Yeah, this is so exciting. So, Amanda, what have you been up to today? Just like in anticipation.
Yeah, I have been sleeping a lot, cleaning a little bit, and preparing. I've just been like mentally preparing. I realized I'm actually very nervous.
Mhm.
And I wasn't giving myself like permission to be nervous. I was like, no, you got this, whatever. But I'm actually a little nervous, but it's okay. That's normal.
I mean, having read your book, we're gonna get into it. And I have my questions prepared, but I just felt like, you kind of like lay your soul, in on these pages, and I have so many questions for you. So I'm so excited, and I really hope that people, if you haven't had the chance to check out the book is out already, and it was on pre-orders, but the release was on June 1st. So it was June 1st, right? Your publication date?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like most people are going to get it like probably like yesterday or this week. Like if you pre-ordered, it was mailed out June 2nd. And yeah, and US mail.
Oh yeah. So should we wait? Amanda, do you want to wait like a few more minutes and let more people in? I'm admitting as they go, and we have about 11 participants.
Yeah, let's wait like 3 more minutes.
It's okay. I see Mariela's joining us. Amanda, is your book available in the Dominican Republic? Mel wants to know.
Yes, I'm here, so you can buy it from me. You can DM Libreria Cosmos, which is my bookstore. I'm gonna put it in the chat. That's on Instagram. You can DM and then I'll save you a copy. And we'll see if I can send it por Caribe Express.
Wonderful. Are you at home right now or in your libreria?
I'm at home.
At home, okay.
Medelis. I love seeing these names. It makes me happy. It's my people. I miss you guys.
All right. So if you guys are just tuning in, we are here at the virtual book release of Amanda Alcantara's How I Became a Mermaid. And this has been highly anticipated. I actually have Amanda's first book, Chula, here. I read the ARC, the PDF version, but I still need to get my copy. So, but I saw your beautiful unboxing, and that was just so touching to me. So yeah, so I think we have enough. We waited long enough, but will ask. Actually, most of you guys have muted yourselves, so that's great. That was going to be one of the first things I will ask of you guys. But again, my name is hola mi gente. My name is Amaris Castillo. I am a journalist, writer, and the creator of Bodega Stories, which is a series featuring real stories from the corner store. I'm also a book reviewer for the Dominican Writers Association. And this event is sponsored by Dominican Writers Association, which is a nonprofit literary arts organization founded in 2015 by Angela Abreu, with a mission to advocate for our Dominican stories by highlighting, promoting, and providing them the tools and resources to become published authors. And if you guys want more information about the organization, you can visit dominicanwriters.com. So I want to officially welcome you to, again, the virtual book release of Amanda Alcantara's How I Became a Mermaid, which is a book and a multimedia performance by Alcantara, which explores suicide, death and rebirth, mental health issues, nationalism, and belonging. And it tells the story of a young author struggling with depression who spontaneously starts to become a mermaid when she is attacked for her beliefs. And because this deals with mentions of suicide, just wanted to give you guys a content warning. Going to introduce Amanda. Hi, Amanda. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Super excited to be here.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and thank you so much to everyone for coming. Thank you, Amaris, too. So, okay.
Of course. So I'm going to introduce you now, and I hope you guys don't mind if I my eyes pivot to my little document, because Amanda, you are very decorated and accomplished, and I could not possibly memorize all this. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this. So Amanda Alcantara is a Caribbean writer, performer, and author of Chula, and most recently, How I Became a Mermaid, the reason why we're here. Her work has been featured in the anthology Latinas, Struggles and Protests in 21st Century USA, the poetry anthology Latinx, NPR's Latino USA, and Remezcla. She's also co-founder and previous editor of La Galeria magazine, of which, just full disclaimer, because I'm a journalist, that's how I connected with Amanda. I had actually joined their team a while back, and we worked really hard to bring out this beautiful print issue. I have it here. It's a little too far for me to reach, but anyways. So in 2021, Alcantara began recording Spanish language audiobooks, starting with providing the voiceover for the Spanish translation of The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. She recently won an Earphones Award for her narration of Bilal Ramirez and The Escape from Safa by Julian Randall. Amanda now lives in the Dominican Republic, where she owns this amazing, beautiful bookstore. She is a 2022 Dominican Studies Institute Fellow. For the fellowship, she'll be documenting stories of myths and legends from the Dominican Republic. And hold on, there's one more person that needs to be admitted. And the next person I want to introduce to you is Roxana Calderón. Roxana Calderon is, first, Roxana, where are you? Hi, do you want to say anything? Hello. Thank you for joining us. Roxana is a writer and editor born in Brooklyn, New York, and raised in the Dominican Republic. In her first book, La Casa de las Maletas, 2019, by DW Press, which is Dominican Writers Association's indie press, Roxana uses an original voice and tells us about love and its ups and downs. Calderón has been published in La Galeria magazine, Un Verano en Nueva York in 2019, Las Hijas de Machepa on dominicanwriters.com. She's been published in Spanglish Voces, of which she is a member of their editorial team, their digital literary magazine, and facilitates literary workshops in Spanish as well. She also collaborates with the Dominican Writers Association and has participated in the multilingual anthology of the Americas Poetry Festival in New York, the Latin American anthology El Vuelo Más Largo, published by Ángeles de Papel Editores in Peru, and the Dominican Writers Anthology that's out now called Ni de Aquí, Ni de Aquí, Ni de Allá. So with that being said, since my introductions are complete now, I will pass the Zoom floor over to Roxana, who will share some of her poesía with us.
Thank you, Amaris, Amanda. So happy for you, and I'm so glad. Thanks for the opportunity of being here, celebrating your writing, your art, and this new baby. So what I'm gonna read is in Spanish. Se llama 30 de agosto. Llevo días reflexionando. Me siento perdida y de repente dentro de mis propias palabras me encuentro. Dentro de mi propia voz veo rasgos de lo que fui y de lo que soy, tal vez de lo que seré, en lo que me transformaré. Me estoy escuchando. Llevo meses cuestionándome, buscando respuesta a todas mis preguntas. Algo tengo por seguro, no soy la misma de antes. No soy la misma persona de ayer, pero a veces tampoco sé quién soy. Y saber y no saber en lo que me convertiré o cuál será mi próximo paso me llena de una ansiedad que busca convertirse en miedo que trae pánico. Estoy en estado de transformación, en un ciclo metamórfico. Emocionalmente, hace casi un año he sufrido muchos cambios, muchos de ellos positivos que me han llevado a trascender a un ámbito más espiritual y otros negativos que me han llevado a querer evolucionar cada día más. Ya basta de hacerme daño y de hacer daño. Siento que estoy detrás de algo que desconozco, pero que pide ser encontrado, que vive en mí y busca ser reclamado. Quiero acercarme más a ese ser que creo superior a mí y me provee fuerza. Duele mucho, romperse, trae dolor, doblarse, desligarse, soltar. Cuántas lágrimas he derramado pasando por este fuego que moldea. Todo ha sido un proceso. Hasta mis palabras han ido cambiando. He notado que mis versos son más cortos, pero dicen más, aunque en ocasiones expresando dolor, buscando limpiarme y pulgar hasta mi más profundo origen a través de mis escritos, expulsando eso que ya no cabe en mí, eso que superé y sigue caminando conmigo, limpiando mis plantas, limpiándolas de raíz. Estoy más sola que antes y me encanta. Hablo menos, escucho más. El silencio me va seduciendo. Me llena de paz y calma. Me hace sentirme bien. Mi círculo ya no es el mismo. Escudriño precavidamente a quien dejó acercarse. Ya no estoy disponible para los demás, pues me debo a mí, a mi arte. Me debo a mí, a mi propósito. Y para poder dar lo mejor tengo que continuar sanando. Debo cerrar heridas y completar ciclos. Debo seguir conociéndome, perdonando y perdonándome y aceptando, alejando de mí lo que no está en mi frecuencia. He perdido mucho. Diría que la mitad de mi círculo, la mitad de lo que tenía y que me iba acompañando por un largo tiempo. Sopló un viento fuerte y solo el tronco sobrevivió. Quedó un poco afectado, pero aún sigue siendo fuerte. Voy más ligera. En este recorrido también he ido soltando todo el equipaje innecesario que llevaba por dentro. He hecho espacio, pues en el mundo en que vivimos hay muchas distracciones y solo querer llevar todo conmigo aunque no haya espacio. Ya no más hacer las cosas porque sí, hablar porque sí, participar porque sí. Me lo he prometido y debo cumplirme. Me he ido despojando en nombre de la felicidad absoluta que reclama mi ser. Sé que hay más de lo que se ve. Estoy en una guerra constante por defender mis ideales y mi libertad en un entorno que califica al débil, de sensible, como tonto al tímido, sin voz al que prefiere no opinar. No tengo la necesidad de explicarme ni explicarle lo que pienso a nadie. Sé que hay más de lo que mis ojos carnales son capaces de ver. Estoy en una búsqueda constante, indagando más allá, nadando a profundidad, desafiando mis propios pensamientos y las leyes establecidas. Me he revelado, creo. Me rehúso a conformarme. Mi existencia no solo puede ser una huella de carbono más desgastando el planeta. Dentro de mí hay un ser que pide ser. Thank you.
Wow, me encantó. Muchas gracias, Roxana. Beautiful. Wow, that was amazing. What are we doing? Oh, yes, thank you so much for sharing. Now we're gonna go move on to a reading by Amanda. I'm so excited because if you guys don't all have the book, this will give you a little glimpse of how I became a mermaid. So Amanda, would you like to read from your book?
Yes. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Okay. Oh, this is happening. All right, I'm so excited. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Roxana, for that beautiful poem. Roxana and I have been like talking a lot recently, and I feel like we're becoming close friends. And I really appreciate you saying yes to this. And And thank you also to Amaris, like saying, you know, I appreciate you taking the time today, and thank you to all of you. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna start. Amaris, can you mute yourself? Yeah. The day I died, I dug myself out of my chest after it had swallowed me whole. I was in Cabarete Beach. It was one of those afternoons where the sky was purple as the sun set and everything felt soft, soft, soft. Sunsets feel like the time of day when nothing else matters but knowing we all came here to die. And I was writing a letter to you, my child, you, my legacy, you, my words, you, my future, our future, that I was now transforming. I was writing to tell you that I didn't die, but that I was protecting you, sparing you, by instead becoming something non-human. Because that's what so much of the hole in my chest that kept eating me felt like. Humanity taken, sunk. What is humanity if not the knowledge that your mother loves you? Sorry, just give me 1 second. Sorry, just give me 1 second. There we go. Because that's what so much of the hole in my chest that kept eating me felt like. Humanity taken, sunk. What is humanity if not the knowledge that your mother loves you? The ocean loves me, and so I became hers. I walked into the ocean, the air slowly leaving my pores so that I could sink, even while the salt water tried to keep me afloat. Something took hold of my arm and dragged me in. I wonder, for how long did they search for my body? I'm so nervous. Okay. Yeah. Soy Amanda, hija de Carmen y Marcos, descendiente de los Alcantara de San Juan de la Maguana, de los Ramírez de Laguna Prieta, de los Herrera de Santiago de los Caballeros, de los Burgos de Licey, tataranieta del general Victoriano Alcántara y del masón cubano José Herreras, que se enamoró de una dominicana y dijo, aquí me quedo. Soy descendiente de mujeres que no se complacen con el primero que se las lleve de la casa, mujeres agricultoras y yerberas con nombres como Dolores y Consuelo, una reflexión del mundo al que entran y de la medicina que traen, mujeres que deciden su rumbo y se autodefinen como les da la gana y dicen de hoy en día, llámame amapola. Y así sus verdaderos nombres permanecerán un misterio lejos de los malos hechizos. Soy de una tierra llena de contradicciones, donde la esclavitud primero llegó al Nuevo Mundo y donde América nació, marcándola con una herencia de vergüenza y a la vez resistencia pura que no se ve en los libros, pero sí se escucha en las lenguas sueltas que no se retractan de decir la verdad como es, de decir la vaina como es, lenguas que viven burladas del sistema y atrapadas en él. Soy de una tierra donde el patriotismo une al pueblo, pero ofusca la igualdad, donde la identidad es sobre ser gente alegre, pero con un miedo, un peso en el pecho de que se rompa el fino hilo que sostiene esa identidad, agarrándose más de la amplitud de lo que no somos que de lo que sí somos. Gente que terminó naciendo en este pedazo de isla ilegítima, sin nombre propio, y que hizo de su realidad familias donde dar pelas es tan común como lo es sobarle la herida a un niño y con cariño decirle, eso es para crecer, porque de cada herida hacemos algo concreto, de cada miseria una salve. Y este libro, para mí, es esa salve. The post had spread like wildfire. Now, I'm going to start this part by saying that at the time this story got weird, the year was 2019 and my life had reached a new peak. I was supposed to be celebrating my debut novel, which I'm going to call Mamita, just to not be too on the nose with reality. Mamita was a book about a young Dominican woman finding her footing in the US and after moving there when she was 15, based on me. I was doing my tour, or Turcito, as I called it, because it didn't feel real, because nothing in my life yet felt real, because I was still in the air, I was still learning myself. And then the random ass attacks started. This fake page shared a real image of me with a t-shirt with a Haitian flag and began calling me traidora. The image had been shared over 100 times and other websites had gotten a hold of it. The timing seemed so strange because it had nothing to do with her book tour at the time. Why did I change this to third person? At least not at first. At first it was a coincidence because you see, as soon as these folks found her page and realized she would be making a stop tour in Santiago and Santo Domingo, then they really focused on her, on this book tour stop, on this person. The flyer for her events in DR spread through right-wing underground spaces and the network of chats. Folks from the island she hadn't spoken to in years were texting her. A friend even told me it was being shared in her family chat in El Campo. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? It was strange. She had gone viral, but through a network that made it impossible to track it. So it wasn't really viral, but it was real nonetheless. And this is some of what they said. So this part, just a trigger warning, a content note, it's very raw, it's very like messed up, some of what they said. So, feel free to like step away right now for like 3 seconds. I'm only gonna read like 3 of them. I printed them in the book here, or comments. Some of what was said. Denle killing por desgracia a esa maldita. Quemémosla viva. Pero que se vaya a promocionar su libro para República de Haití, que viene a buscar en RD si es enemiga de nuestro país. Si yo estuviera en mi país, hubiera ido con una botella de orina para tirársela encima. Pero se supone que hay compatriotas en Estados Unidos, ¿por qué no le meten un tiro? The Dominicanes have fangs made from bones they collect and dreams they disrupt. Some are made of milk from little girls who get smacked across the pit. Some are made of milk from little girls who get smacked across the face when she plays with boys, when she wears skirts that are too short, when she talks back, when she smiles back, when he cries, when he's caught playing with dolls, when he wears makeup, when she grows up and wears makeup she buys with her own money. The Dominicane's fur is spiky and clean like a porcupine, but smells of concentrated perfume and beer breath that you've associated with your daddy and with home. So it's impossible not to pet it, not to be lured by it, not to love it, even if it hurts. And when sugarcane workers ask for a pension, the Dominicanes are asking for papers or asking for proof. Buckets of sweat don't count, while bullet-sized saliva spits out of their mouth. What is dignity when these stinky drops fall on human faces, asking for their rights? Dominicanes crack jokes when families ask for the gold from their land, ask for God to remember them while they pray on rosarios. Dominicanes love white foreign perras and razas, and they don't call them cueros like the women here. Instead, they say they open like mariposas. Dominicanes pray to la Virgen de la Altagracia and have built altars for her across the land like empty promises of love, love, love. Mamita, te construiré un castillo que... Mamita, te construiré un castillo que llegue a la luna porque yo te quiero. I promise I won't hurt you again. I promise I won't hurt you again. Please wash my feet with your hair like you did when we first met. Please remember what San Lázaro said and let me lick your wounds. Is this what it means to be Dominican? Okay, this is after lyrics in Happy by Spillage Village featuring Big Group. Anyway, though, I'm not a victim but a survivor and a warrior, una guerrera, and my people's climb can never be done in a single lifetime. So I've been doing this for millennia like an intergalactic Zelda, and so protected is my book of life. I can speak all this truth, and still so much of me is mine. All of me is only mine. I'm a spell you can't break, armed with conviction and the strength of 1,000 ancestors. They're all alive in my face. I'm an off-key piano, going at my own pace, played with soul, guided by grace, y que suene la clave que abre el suelo in this place, pa' bailar, que sin gracia ni gracias no se abre. Y que suene la clave in this place que abre el suelo pa' bailar, que sin gracia ni gracias no se abre, no se abre. In the year 1532, in the Sierra of Bauruco, that's a string of mountains filled with tectonic faults that are all connected, a man by the name of Sebastián Lemba Calembo started a village of Maroons. It was a dark time when white men enslaved entire populations and lands they stole, and entire people in lands they stole. And in the process, they humanized themselves, opening a wound in this place first, on this island, on this sierra, and unleashing a curse that would eventually spread pain across the entire world. And somehow, from that wound, also came a resistance that manifested itself in songs that are called salves, salvation, potion for healing, song of the soul. The village of Cimarrones, formed by Lemba, was free of pain and suffering, or at least the suffering they had endured. Lemba and his men and women who built with them started a community while hiding and staying there until it was time to fight. When they fought, they went from plantation to plantation, burning down the property of the white men who called themselves Cristianos and called them men negros, and freeing all the enslaved people in these plantations, until 1547, when Lemba was killed in the south and his head exhibited like a trophy. And in this mountain range, decades later, a black priest by the name of Liborio Mateo hid here too, forming an entire commune that also sang salves. Many called him El Messias, during a time of a ruthless dictatorship that prohibited their healing songs. From so much pain, so much cracking, an opening would be exposed close to where the earth stemming from this mountain meets the sea, revealing a blue flesh of the earth that had hidden for millennia. And mines would be dug by working hands, digging the stone they called larimar in exchange for coins, their flesh exploited, and the earth exploited, and everything around them exploited. And the mountains, they remain until this day. And late at night, when no one is here to hear it, the leaves in the centuries-old trees sing a stirring song, free still, grounded still, creating a rhythm with drums still, and feet stomping the earth with their black and brown silhouettes still, and their hips gyrating with the wind still, and laughter between smiling teeth sucking on sugarcane stalks around an unlit fire still. A lonely community of ghosts, free, 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 and waiting for the next group of souls to come and join their dance with the moon. One day, the pain was too much. It drowned my lungs in tears and mucus and rippled through my skin and planted a seed in my hair that strangled my thoughts, wrapping them in shame. That night, I cut my hair off, and yet the branches were back within days. I started wearing makeup to cover the sadness of my eyes and focus it on my luscious lips, and tight clothes on my wild curves. Sometimes the pain looked like a man, ripe with fresh skin and sweat drops on the top of his lips like morning dew. I hugged him between my legs, and his brokenness fed my own, even as I begged him to help with my burden. Aren't cis men the so-called stronger gender, able to lift weights equivalent to more than my own frail body? Why then must my burden be heavier than his? And so when he leaves, I rip his roots out from inside of me, leaving me empty with only his weeds, while he bears the proud war scars of my nails on his back, saying, yeah, I fucked her. Over time, my skin became blue, like punching from within, and yet it didn't start from within. It started when I was born and my skin didn't match the bright hospital lights and my tiny fingers tried to claw themselves back in. My mouth too big, I screamed that I was alive and they heard me in the hospital, in the room next door, and in the subway across the Hudson River into the city where I am today, and around the entire block, and at the American Dream Mall that would open 29 years later, and in the year 1968 when my grandpa left to Puerto Rico, then the Bronx, then Brooklyn, then West New York, and in the year 1912, during the Dominican Civil War, where the feared Coronel Ampaye uttered his last words and was shot dead, breaking a spell that protected him after fathering dozens of babies, one being Casimira, who had to raise her kids with strong fists. They said she was dura like her dad. Her daughter Maria would be widowed and poor with 9 kids, including my dad. And they all only owned one pair of shoes for school. And Maria's boys would grow up to love to lick little girls' feet, sticking their tongue between their toes and becoming kings of their hoods and royalty of their apartment complexes from Pueblo Nuevo to the Bronx. And it was heard in the mouth of the Black Eve in the land of Hispaniola, who danced with her former slave master when the formerly enslaved were free. And he wrote about the incident, complaining at her splendor, sweating with rage, saying, "Fuck these people." And he and so many other white Creoles fled to Cuba. And we don't know her words, so we can only imagine what they would be. And in the year 2052, I will have a granddaughter with a big mouth tooth. She will be the heir of my fortune, made of pink sweat drops and a machete made of words that for so long I held as my only will. And this is as much her story as it is mine. First, I had to survive. Not only survive, but thrive. I was to give this seed more than I had been granted. A story, a rescued lineage. Remember where you came from, mi niña. I came from things that don't exist yet. Oof. Okay. I came from things that don't exist yet. My Dominicanidad eats mangoes over the sink and wears white on Sundays. My Dominicanidad loves to show off my perfect Spanish and pretend I never left Santiago. My Dominicanidad steps into the room and everyone turns. My Dominicanidad remembers las sirenas criollas are thick, so I don't need to lose weight. My Dominicanidad admires the brown freckles on my face like my most favorite inheritance. My Dominicanidad hates wearing red, white, and blue. It pretends to be different. My Dominicanidad's gender is the pink and orange sunset and smells like it does right before it rains. My Dominicanidad hates the word Dominicanidad. My Dominicanidad isn't a token. Instead, it glimmers like a gold coin in my pocket, ready to be shown off when people ask, "Where are you from?" My ambiguous face with an obvious blackness people pretend they don't see. Act like you know. Act like you know. My Dominicanidad grew up hating to be called Morenita, and now wants nothing but to reclaim that word as my own, be cuddled by it, so I never have to face my own face. My Dominicanidad raises her hand first in class and walks out last. My Dominicanidad loves post-meal naps and yelling back when I'm walking down the street, "No, tal vez otro día, papi, no estoy en ti." She loves hiding her fear behind her slick, smacking lips. My Dominicanidad loves playing under the sun and wants to raise her sons of here, but safe from here, where no vaca will ever chase him, where he can romanticize Dominicanidad as colors and drums and plátanos and yellow fruits and summers spent fishing with his dad and all that stuff diaspora writers write about. My Dominicanidad is wild and has been plunged under the sea, where all the salt will cleanse her of all the curses she was born with. I think healing isn't about becoming more human or more normal. or even learning to be functional in this backward society. It isn't about being productive as fuck. I think it's about leaning into the wild, whatever that means to each person, without harming others, of course, without harming ourselves, of course. I love my wild. I love all of me, and I deserve the best, even if it means I'm gonna stay unmarried. Like, why the fuck do they place so much emphasis on that? Even if it means I might never be able to hold a 9 to 5 job, even if it means some nights I want to dance like fucking crazy with red wine stains on my lips, blowing the roof off my house and jetting into the sky, even if it means some nights I have to be gentler with myself and be okay with crying under the shower like a fairy living in a land made of concrete. To me, healing is leaning into the shit they call crazy. It's allowing myself to be delusional, to believe what isn't real while remaining grounded in my truth, while remaining grounded in love. It's just me and my drugs tonight. And we dance to John Coltrane and Cuban jazz, and we pretend to smoke un cigarro with a pen in our mouth and ignore the blue ink at the edge of our lips. And my drugs make silhouettes of joy out of my hips, and they make me cackle out loud, deeply, like digging a laugh out of a pit. I wonder if the neighbors can hear me. I wonder if I'm la loca de la cuadra. Me and my drugs are blessed. And because of them, I no longer see death on my doorstep. Instead, I feel an energy in my chest like synthetic spirits made in a lab by white men in white coats. And ingredients got names I can't pronounce. And I love them, love them, love them. Let's dance like no one is watching. Mamita, no one is, except all my ghosts saying, come dance with me. Thank you everyone.
Wow. Like, Amanda, I don't even know where to begin. Thank you so much for sharing. Woo! I did not know, like, I did not know which pieces you were going to read. And what a gift. Thank you so much. So I hope you all have enjoyed the excerpts that Amanda shared, and I have some questions for her that kind of go into some of the pieces that touch on. And so, first, again, congratulations on how I became a mermaid. When I read the book, I was, first of all, there was just so much. You cover so many topics, and you feel different afterwards. Like, it is a book that is like both vulnerable and uninhibited. And it's difficult because you don't think a book can be both, and you do, like I mentioned, you touch on a lot of things that can still feel untouchable in our society. So my first question is, what compelled you to write this book? We're gonna start there.
Yeah. I mean, the book chose me. So initially, I wanted to write another book, very different book. I wanted to write a book about 3 generations of Dominican women. The one in the present would be based on me, and then the book was actually based in the future and based on this character of Carisley, who would be my granddaughter. And I wanted to write her story, and I wanted to write a future where we basically exist, right? And I wanted to write, like, what would happen if like climate change legislation passed, and if people, I don't know, like, what would happen if shit got utopic all of a sudden, right? So I wanted to write that kind of future, and instead this is what came out. This is what came out, and I think I realized that was my process for both my books, where I had an idea of what I wanted to write, and instead I was like, I'm actually writing something very different. So I finally decided to share all of this towards the end of last year. I was going over everything that I had written over the last 2 years. I was going over like all the fiction that I had written, like over 40,000 words. And I realized, like, I'm meant to write this. I meant to write this. Because initially the story was that her grandmother became a mermaid. And it was inspired on like what was happening to me. So yeah, instead I was just like, I'm just gonna write from my perspective instead of Cari's lady. And yeah, that's how I did it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I know that you kind of you read the line about, I want to talk about this granddaughter that you just mentioned. You talk about how one day you'll have a granddaughter with a big mouth like yours. You said, you know, in one of your earlier readings. And I quote, "She will be the heir of my fortune, made of pink sweat drops and a machete made of words that for so long I held as my only will. And that is as much her story as it is mine." Who or what does this granddaughter represent to you?
Yeah. This granddaughter is my hope for the future. This granddaughter was the person who kept me alive for these past like 2 years as I was going through some mental health struggles. Thank you, Mel. I'm reading all the comments. Thank you, guys. Yeah, this granddaughter, she is both like real, like, you know, I hope to have a granddaughter someday. And also she already exists. I already wrote her into existence. She's already alive. She's already, yeah, she exists. The same way the characters we love exist, she is my legacy already. And to me, it was like I was making magic happen by writing that she existed, especially because we're in times of so much despair right now, because of climate change, like the shootings in the US, here in DR, she's going down. It's really sad. And those, like yesterday, they killed the Minister of Medio Ambiente, you know? So for doing his job, right? Like protecting a Medio Ambiente, not giving someone a license. And to me, I was like, you know, amid so much despair with the pandemic and everything, I want to write something. I want to write a future. I want to write a future. And I feel like she's alive. Cari Slay is alive.
That's amazing. Wow. I've never thought of that, writing something into the future. And Emita, and you named her and everything, you know?
Yeah. The name comes from the fictional character that was going to be her grandmother and her mother. So Karina and Leida, it was like a mix.
Oh yeah, I you know how Dominicans love mixing names. So I do want to, because you read from that part about just what you went through a few years ago. So you recount the vitriol and online attacks you received several years around the torcito, like you said, of your debut book. And I know I like what you did about, you renamed Chula Mamita for the book, because I mean, I could tell just by reading it, just I guess what a struggle it was to just put that on the page. And so, you know, they called you a traidora and just horrible things, some of which you detailed earlier. And you write about this sadness that enveloped you during this difficult time in your life as you struggled with the decision on whether or not to go through with your book tour in La República. My question is, what did this experience teach you about Dominicanidad?
Girl, esa pregunta tan fuerte. It taught me that Dominicanidad, unfortunately, is very flawed. And it is a word that is empty of meaning, and people can give it whatever meaning they want. And unfortunately, you know, when people are disenfranchised, a lot of Dominicans are very disenfranchised, and most of their pride is being Dominican, you know? So it's almost like people's personal individual identity becomes being Dominican. And that is very dangerous, because when that is not something concrete, right? Like being Dominican, I wish it was like we're protecting the land, you know? I wish it was like, tú sabes, una vaina holística, una vaina revolucionaria. But actually, you know, there's a Bible in the flag, the Dominican flag, right? And right now we're seeing that the attacks that are happening on the LGBTQ community here, which I quoted right in the book, and basically the institutions in power get to define Dominicanidad, and that is very sad. And what is unfortunate to me, like when I see it, is that when individuals think of Dominicanidad, I don't think most people are thinking La Patria, Duarte. I think people are thinking merengue, dembow. People are thinking cultura. You know, people are thinking we're alegre, we're happy people. But some people don't see it that way, and some people are using this identity to add things to it that are very hateful and that can be used, you know, to attack Dominicans of Haitian descent, Haitian immigrants, to attack LGBTQ communities, to attack women, to attack Black folks. Yeah, that's what I learned about Dominicanidad writing this book.
Thank you so much for sharing.
And going through that experience.
Yeah. So let's just real quick, I wanted to talk to you about the screen grabs of the vitriol and hateful comments that you were on the receiving end of, which, you know, you only include 2 pages in the book, but I'm sure there were countless and countless. Like if we printed all of those Facebook comments that, you know,
it was hundreds of comments.
We'd probably need like a whole Office Depot store filled with paper. But tell me about your decision to publish those screen grabs. You do black out the names of the people who sent you hate online, but tell me about the decision to publish it and include it in your book.
Yeah. I wanted to show how ugly it can get. I wanted to show it, and I wanted it to leave my body. I wanted it to be de la gente. You people deal with this shit. Like, this is the shit that people go through, right? Like, I'm an ally, right, when it comes to you know, the movement for the rights of Dominicans of Haitian descent. There's people that get this kind of shit every single day because of the work that they do. Entonces, to me, I did it because I wanted to get it out of my body. I didn't want it to be mine. And I also wanted people to see how visceral it was, so that they can understand why the transformation into mermaidhood happened, right? Because basically, when I talk about how I became a mermaid, it can be interpreted as, you know, I felt like I literally became a mermaid. Like, you know, at the time I like dyed my hair red, and yo de verdad, like I was like, you know, I'm not gonna be fucking human if I'm being dehumanized this way. I'm gonna be something better. I'm gonna become a mermaid. And I was living in the US at the time, ironically. I wasn't even close to water. And yeah, so to me it was like, I had to show how fucked up the situation was, that someone will make the decision to stop being human, or that someone will make the decision to want to die. I know this is suicide, but, you know, to commit suicide.
Thank you so much. And just so you know, everyone attending, if you guys want to drop some questions in the chat, please feel free. We're going to be taking a few questions at the end. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I do want to talk, you address mental health. I have a specific question about that because that is a large part of your book. To experience anxiety and, you know, depression is one thing, and to write about it, I can imagine brings with it like a whole complex set of feelings. And in writing How I Became a Mermaid, was your hope to find the roots of your mental health struggles or find release from them?
I want to say, in writing the book, you know, and I say this at the end, right, in the letter, right? I this book literally kept me alive when I wanted to die, because it gave me a purpose. It was like, no, I have this amazing fucking story to tell, so I am going to tell it. Right? I have to stay here to tell it. So I want to say that that was the function of the book when it comes to my mental health. To me, it was also very important that I was raw, because I think even the way in which the book is written, right? Like, it has faltas ortográfica. Sometimes like the I is like capitalized or not capitalized, right? Like, there's a lot of things, the styling in the book, a lot of things I left like that, right? Because first I didn't want it to fit within this perfectionism that was giving me the anxiety, right? And that can give you anxiety. I didn't want it to fit within the perfectionism, and I didn't want it to fit within the standard of like the publishing world and the standard of what art looks like. I feel like today when you look at Instagram, everyone looks so clean and everyone looks so like, not everyone, but like a lot of people, tú sabes, como que todas las fotos se ven tan como, I don't want to say edited, because that's not what it is, but the aesthetic is very like commercial, you know? And to me, I wanted to go back to the reality of everyday life, which doesn't look like that. Yeah. And it was important that I talk about my mental health struggle, because so much of the book is essentially a metaphor for suicide, the entire thing, right? So I had to talk about what was leading me to go that deep, and what was leading me to think so dark. I had to show what those thoughts looked like. I had to show what it looked like inside my head. I had to show even the struggle with medication, right? Like, I don't want to take drugs. The fuck, the struggle, and I shared the diagnosis, and that was a lot for me. I was like, wow, am I really gonna share this fucking diagnosis? But I did. I was like, fuck it, tú sabes, because a lot of people are going through that, and you know, I dedicated the book to Hansi, who was an activist and friend of a lot of ours who committed suicide last year, and you know, I think sometimes people are like, oh, we need to talk about mental health, blah, blah, blah. But even that conversation is clean. People don't talk about how ugly it really gets. People don't talk about how when you're in such a dark place, you don't even want to tell people how dark it gets in there, because it's scary. And sometimes you don't want to burden your family or your friends with that. So to me, I wanted to get it out.
Wow.
Isabel, yes. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Hansi. Thank you. I did notice that dedication, that you dedicated the book to him. So, you know, the trauma that you experienced led to this transformation into a mermaid. Can you elaborate and talk a little bit more about a mermaid? Like, why a mermaid? Like, did you look into other creatures, mythical? Like, tell us about your decision, because, you know, I have to ask this because the title is How I Became a Mermaid.
Of course, of course. I want to say it chose me, and I also want to say it was years in the making. So a couple of years ago, I want to share the link actually. No, I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm going to share the title. A couple of years ago, I saw this beautiful music video on the song by Carolina Camacho called Ninfa de las Aguas, right? So Nymph of the Waters. And I saw it, and it just really, really, really got to me. I really was inspired by that video. And I dressed up as a mermaid like 2 Halloweens in a row. And yeah, when it came time to choose a creature, I was just like, I'm already a mermaid. I didn't go searching for it. I didn't go Googling it. I was just like, it just happened. I was already starting to embody it from years ago.
And from childhood, did you know much about mermaids? Were you ever curious about them?
I don't know. I don't know, but I will say this. I think mermaids are a big part of like our folklore here in DR. Even if we don't have like a big story like La Ciguapa of a mermaid, you go to any small town and everybody, you know, people have these local stories. We have Yamaya, we have Marta la Dominadora, we have we just have, and I think every single country in the world that has a coast has a mermaid archetype. And there is such a thing as a mermaid archetype, also like within our subconscious, pero like our collective subconscious. Pero I don't really remember the Little Mermaid. I don't really remember, I don't really remember it affecting me in such a way. But I loved water when I was a kid.
You what?
I loved water when I was a kid.
Okay, someone just said La Sirena store.
Yes. Oh my God, every time I try to Google stories about La Sirenas in DR, it was just La Sirena store everywhere. I was like, I'm trying to learn about this.
And so before we move on, please send us your questions if you have any more questions. If you have any questions for Amanda, please. I have one over here that someone sent me privately. What do you hope people get out of How I Became a Mermaid?
Yeah. I want them to question Dominicanness, right? And not in a way where it's like, oh, I'm gonna reject it. No. I love fucking being Dominican, right? But I want us to just question it, like begin to question, 27 de febrero. Begin to question, what does it mean when you put a flag next to your name on like Instagram or whatever, right? I want them to question that, and to also invite them to begin to learn who they are when they don't have this identity attached to them, right? Or any identity that comes from the outside, ¿verdad? Because I just think nationalism can be toxic when not used when it's not used to protect the land. If it's not about protecting the land, it's something else. That's how I feel. And I want people to know that they're not alone in their mental health struggles. And lastly, I want people to embrace their crazy. Like, to me, running from, I want to be a mermaid, I want to dress up like an elf, I want to do ASMR videos, or qué sé yo, I want to, I want people to be free without what your parents tell you you're supposed to do, without what society tells you you're supposed to do. Just find your free and stick to it. And yeah.
Wow, I love that. Find your free. I'm about to, go on another solo trip without my kids. That's exactly. Just so you know, I went in December. I think I had messaged you before. I went to Santo Domingo just for 5 days with no husband, no kids.
I remember.
I went to work on like my Bodega Stories project, and yeah, and I always like, just in my time knowing you, my years knowing you, I feel like you are free. But I'm learning now from just reading your book, like there was time, you've struggled with it. We all struggle with it. But I really do, like, I love that about you. And I admire that so much about you. You just like go for things and you go for opportunities. And, you're living, you're like, I told you the other day, you're constructing this beautiful life. And like, I hope you're happy with the life that you're crafting. And I do think, there's fate and there's, obligations and responsibilities, but I feel like we have so much power to really be intentional about, the life that we're creating. We just have to get there, maybe step by step.
And believe that we deserve that life too.
Yes. So before we go into the question, and I'm still waiting, I'm looking at
all y'all. Don't have questions. It's cool. I'm reading the comments and it makes me happy. People are sending me comments.
Yeah. I do wanted just have one more question. What were the ingredients required for you to tell this story, to tell your story? I know you said that the book chose you, but I mean, was it like the right time of your life? Like, was it the where your headspace was at? Like, tell us about the ingredients that required you to get to this point.
Yeah. Jazz, listening to jazz and dancing. I invite you all to go to my Instagram to see the performance that I did, the last one. I want to say jazz and tapping into the spirit of jazz music, which is very spontaneous. That was the main ingredient. There was, you know, there was a place that I was in when I was writing this book, like a place, not even a physical place, but like a spiritual place, that felt like I was connected to como ese H. Like basically when you're listening, when you listen to jazz music, right? There's something that like moves you, right? So I feel like I was connected to my personal version of that, and that was important for me because I needed to give myself permission to be spontaneous. I needed to give myself permission to make mistakes. And I also just wanted to imagine shit and go crazy. Like, you know, the piece that I read today, you know, one day the pain was too much, and then I say, my mouth too big. I screamed that I was alive, and they heard me in New York City, and they heard me 29 years later. It's like I imagine a baby screaming so loud that you hear her across dimensions, right? And when I wrote that, it was during the pandemic in Fort Washington Park, Inwood Park. Oh my God, Fort Washington Park in the Heights. No, that's Fort Washington is the street. Wow, yo, déjame olvidar el nombre del parque. In the park that's all the way in the top.
That's very Dominican of you to just like describe the landmark.
It's just there. The Inwood Park, thank you, Angie. In Inwood Park, I would go every weekend, and I would, you know, because we had to be in isolation from each other, and it was summer, so I would go and I would write. And I wrote this, I think I have them here. I wrote that piece like that, in little parts like that, right? And I wrote so much of the book like this, in así, right? Because sometimes when you look at a page, it's like overwhelming. But if you're writing little things like that, you feel so good after you finish each one. You're like, oh my God, you know, dopamine.
You're like, I'm an accomplished author. I wrote one note card. You're already an accomplished author because, you know, you've written and you've also been a journalist. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And so we did get one question from Angie. What was the hardest and easiest part about writing this book?
Yes. The hardest part was letting it be what it was, and not trying to change it, not trying to fit into a certain mold. And it was accepting that, you know what, right? Okay, yeah, I'm happy about this question. Accepting that my mental health at the time was the very reason why I couldn't write the book that I wanted to write, and instead I wrote this, right? So it required a lot of tenderness and a lot of love and a lot of like, this book is actually amazing, like this. It's beautiful. And it is. I love this. I love it so much. You guys have no idea. You guys have no idea. This is my baby. Yeah, this and true. I love my books so much. And the easiest part, like, the easiest part was the actual writing of the thing, if that makes sense. Like, accepting it was harder than writing it. Writing it was fun. Writing it was, I mean, sometimes it was difficult, but a lot of times it was fun. It was liberating. When I wrote the piece about La Sierra de Bauruco that I read today, I was like, oh my God, this is magic, you know? And to me, it feels like telling the story of Dominican Republic through the land. That's what it felt like. And yeah, that writing itself was the easiest part.
That's amazing. I mean, I think because it was coming from you and just like everything you were going through, and I'm sure it was kind of maybe like akin to a faucet. You just let it all out, you know? And I also you said something earlier about you were letting go of perfection. I really love that because I noticed that the style is different. There are some sections that you start like you don't capitalize. You're just, and I'm like, and I'm a journalist and I'm like, oh, Amanda. I'm like, whew, I'm in for a ride. And then it's almost like you adjust the reader to, you're like, this is unconventional because it's supposed to be, like let go, shed all that, shed all the expectations that you have of the publishing industry, of a polished published book. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. So does anyone have any other questions? Now's your chance. Let me see.
Yeah, and if not, we can finish early. So good.
Oh, no, I was going to say, is there anything that perhaps I haven't asked that you'd like to just add about how I became a mermaid?
Yeah, the release, I wanted to talk about the performance that I did on social media.
Yes. Can you include your handle?
It was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To me, it was so much fun, and it was also so liberating. Like, I basically took photos naked, right? And it's like, I'm covering, but I'm naked. And that to me was basically like a fuck you to everything. It was like, somebody doesn't want to hire me because of this. Fuck them. I don't want to work with them. Somebody, got like, it was really, I really feel like that performing this was as fun as writing it. And it was part of it. To me, I feel like I'm a multimedia artist person, and I wanted to put it out on social media, and I wanted it to be weird. It was weird, and people were messaging me because I remember when I first announced it was simple, and the website, the writing was too little, and I was like, I don't care. I want it to be weird. I want people to be annoyed. I want people to be like, what the fuck is Amanda doing? And that's exactly what happened. People were like, what is happening? Yeah, and I also wanted to say one more thing. To me, it was very important to write that, to write my letter of the author, and to write that I forgive the attacks, right? I had this question of like, what would Jesus do, right? And I'm not like a Christian, like churchgoer, but I do believe in the story of Christ. And, to me, it felt like forgiveness liberates you. It doesn't mean excusing it. It just means, love. I've seen videos of like Peña Gomez where he does the same thing. He's like forgiving. And I think in this time that we're in now of so much darkness and, us calling out each other's beasts, I think we live in a carceral society that makes it hard for people to take accountability, because if somebody says, yeah, I did this, they're gonna go to jail. So it makes it hard for people to, and jails don't rehabilitate people, right? So we don't have a system for rehabilitating people. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think, we need to remember, like, we're all human. We all have beasts, but we're all human. And I hope we can all look at the humanity in each other, and I hope we can forgive. And if not forgive, then at least like allow people, like create a system aside from the carceral system that allows people a chance to rehabilitate. And I'm talking like Kendrick Lamar just put out the song from the perspective of Nipsey Hussle, right? Where he says, I forgive the man that killed me. His soul is gonna be in question, but I forgive him. And that is powerful, like that is powerful. So yeah, forgiveness is a theme in this book as well, to me.
Definitely, that was something I, was so blown away by, that you included, your detractors in you know, the acknowledgments at the end. But you know, I think that's very just beautiful, noble of you. I think it speaks to who you are as a person. And I'm just so honored. I'm so honored to know you. So with that said, if there are no other questions, I need to know, and everybody needs to know, please share where people can purchase How I Became a Mermaid and where they can support your work.
Yeah, so purchase it on my website so I get most of the money. But my website, I just shared it again. Amaris, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing my IG. Yeah, you can buy it off the website, but you can also get it anywhere. You can go to Barnes & Noble and be like, order this book for me. They don't have it in their shelves. No estamos en eso. Pero you can order it from any website that sells books. Basically, I use Ingram Spark, who's an amazing distributor. If anyone wants to independently publish, I highly recommend. And yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere. I recommend either getting it from me or getting it from a small bookstore, like a local bookstore.
Wonderful. And does that wrap up I know you posted the performances on Instagram. Can your supporters and readers expect any other performances or any other events related to How I Became a Mermaid?
Yeah. No, I'm ready to move on. So no more performances. I might post, no more performances within like transforming into a mermaid. But I might still have some fun with photos later. I might, there's a lot in this book. I want this book to be available to everyone. Like if you can't afford it, I will send you the PDF. Yeah, I know that's not smart, but I want everybody to read this. I have a different vibe with this than I did with Chula. Like I want this to be widely available to everyone who's interested, right? So I'm probably gonna share like some poems on there and stuff, but no, I don't have any more plans.
Okay, just wanted to touch, all the bases, but
I appreciate the question because it made me think too, and I was like, no, I'm ready. I'm graduating.
Yeah, no, I think I think the book itself is a gift and it'll keep giving. I can't wait to reread it. And also, just so you know, on the Dominican Writers Association website, I am working on a review. So if you guys follow us on Instagram, we will definitely promote when my review is up. And but now I feel like I'm more informed because I asked you all the questions. I have so many more questions, by the way. But reviews are just like, about the content itself. But thank you so much again, Amanda, for just sharing your beautiful book with us and for being so open and candid just about everything that you've gone through over the past few years, for opening your hearts and, for sharing this transformation into a mermaid with us. It was such an honor to interview you and to be a part of your book launch. And I look forward to seeing what else you have working on. Maybe we'll have book 3 in a few years.
We will.
And thank you, Roxana, and also Angie Abreu, who the founder of the Dominican Writers Association. Thank you to the organization for sponsoring this event. And I will see you guys on Instagram. Thank you so much again for being a part of Amanda Alcantara's virtual event. And we will see you guys on the flip side, the internet side. Thank you for attending.
Thank you. I love you guys. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.